We had about 3 weeks to read Samson. I hope that we continue to read Samson. I'm going to be moving rather slowly through Samson, but I would like for everyone to have the whole story starting at Judges 13. And I believe it ends at Judges 16 or 17. So please read all of Samson so that you have the full context as to what we're talking about when we talk about Samson. All right, let us all please stand for the reading of the Lord's Word. We'll be coming from Samson 13 and 2. Samson, Judges 13 and 2. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren, and bare not. And the angel of the Lord appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive, and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, I always love that, for lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. All right, we may be seated. All right, what an exciting time. Really, what an exciting time to be alive, right? Yes. I mean, this is 2018, and I remember there was a movie called Space Odyssey, 2000, right? And when Space Odyssey 2000 came out, we were like, wow, 2000. And now we're in 2018, and we had a black president, and we now have a president with no credentials. And I am super excited to see what our next president is going to be. Like, where are we going to go from here? That's my next question. But that has absolutely nothing to do with what we're talking about today. Just rambling on and on, right? Okay, so get to it, Pastor. Teach us something great. Well, I actually already have begun. Because now in 2018, we're turning me down. No, turn me up. Don't turn me down. Make me work harder. Turn me up, 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 up. Thank you. See, man, see how people do you? They try to turn you down. Turn me down. Turn me up. Turn down for what? No, okay. All right, let's begin. Last week we were talking about what? Last week we were talking about destiny, right? We were talking about what is God have for me? What is my destiny? And remember I said that people go to tarot cards, right? They go to tarot cards, and they go to stones, and they put rocks on their heads, and they worship the rocks, and the rocks give them power, like power rocks. We were actually watching this little thing on Facebook about the power rocks. Anyone know about the power rocks? You ever heard of this? You never heard of it? Power rocks? You're fortunate. So apparently, just a little side note, there are people out there that believe that different stones, like amethyst or whatever, hold a different type of power. And so they put the power rocks, and they hold them, and they eat them. I don't know. They put them on their head, they put it on their body, and it gives them power, and it powers them up, right? And all of this is to give them some destiny, right? To give them what they're supposed to do, purpose, right? But we discovered yesterday, or last Sunday, that purpose actually comes from who? Say it louder, say it proud.
God.
From God. Come on now, don't make it hard on me. It comes from God. That actually purpose comes from God. And no matter what happens, we will find our what? Purpose. We will find our purpose. The question is not, will we find our purpose? The question is, how much pain are we going to have to suffer before we actually come to that what? Purpose. But everyone has a purpose unto God. God has a destiny for each and every one of us. In this one, in Judges 13, we discover that Samson's purpose was what? To help to start to bring down or deliver out of the hands of the Philistines the Israelites. Now, if you were to read a little bit earlier in Judges, we were to discover that God's punishment had came upon the Israelites because they were doing all manner that God did not enjoy or did not like. Therefore, what? God had to put them in the hands of the Philistines for a period of time. You turn me down again? Okay. I can't hear myself. So, here's the thing about it. The Philistines were enemies, sometimes friends. I like to think of the Philistines as frenemies. Sometimes they were trading partners, sometimes they were at each other's throats. Sometimes they were trading partners, other times they were what? At each other's throats. In this instance, they were the slaveholders of the Israelites. Okay? So this happened for a period of time, and God now was like, you know what? You've been punished enough. It's time that you are able to move on. But that's not what this sermon is about. That's just some history. The sermon is really about Zorah, the man from Zorah, whose name was Manoah. Manoah. I love this. I was studying this, and I was like, man, what angle? I didn't want to start with Samson. I wanted to start with his parents. And I wanted to start with what does it mean to be a Nazirite and all of that great stuff. And we read about from Numbers and then where it came from. But then as I was reading Judges 13, I got excited about Manoah and his wife. Why did I get excited? Because I get excited when I see normal people, just regular people, that God comes to and gives them something great, and how they respond. You see, it's different when a prophet gets a message, like when Jonah gets a message, he's like ready to go. He's like, okay, I know what's going on. I'm ready to rock, right? But then you look at the example of Abraham, right? Abraham was just what? A regular dude, just like you or me, right? And one day he was just sitting around, and God comes to him and says, hey, your children are going to be like the stars. And his response wasn't like, yay. What was his response? What? My kids are going to be like, nah, I'm cool where I am. I'm not going to move. God has to come back to him and be like, look at the stars. I love to see how God uses just normal, average, everyday people to do great works, and what their response is. So Manoah's doing this thing, and his wife is working. She's barren. And who knows how long she's been barren. Like, she's known that she's been barren. Like, I guess she should have had a child by now, and she hasn't had a child. So now it's like, what are we going to do? Well, we're just going to live our life. I guess they probably already at this point have decided that what? They're not going to have children. We're happy together. We're not going to have children. We're just going to live a life. And then one day, an angel comes to them and says, what? You're going to bear a child. And that child's going to do all this great stuff, and he's going to be a Nazirite, right? But watch the way the angel comes and actually explains it to her. He says, and the angel of the Lord came unto the woman and said unto her, behold, thou art barren and bearest bearest not. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not the wine, and all of this. So the angel starts to give her what it means to be a Nazirite. He doesn't just say, you'll have a Nazirite. He doesn't, like, you would think he would come right out and say, hey, you're going to have what? A Nazirite. Because if he had said that, if you knew what a Nazirite was, then you would know what you should and should not do, right? But then you think, what is a Nazirite? That this woman really may not have known what a Nazirite was. I mean, I really want you to think about this. She's just an average, she's not a prophet, she's not a prophetess. She's just an average person working in the fields barren. She believes in God, and God comes to her through the form of it, sends an angel and says, hey, you're going to bear a Nazarite. And she's like, what? But what is a Nazarite? A Nazarite comes from Numbers. As Moses was getting handed the law, right? God sets aside a special selection of people. Now, this is going to be important next week when we start really getting into Samson and his life, his first wife. Why I feel like he rebelled a little. A Nazarite was actually very hard, because a Nazarite gave up many of the things of the world in order to serve God, but it was a very specific time frame. Like, they weren't really doing it for the rest of their life. They might do it for 30 days, they might do it for a year, they might do it for 4 years, but the concept of doing it for your whole life, that really wasn't what a Nazarite was all about. They just gave it up for a period of time to serve this one thing, whatever it may have been, and then guess what happened after the 30 days? They go back to their life. They go back to doing whatever they were doing. So for 30 days, they lived this strict, hardcore life, and then afterwards, they go right back to whatever life they were doing. There were ceremonies and customs and things like that. I'm going to spare you that. Although I found it interesting, you probably wouldn't. But the point of the matter is, it was a short or long period of time, but it really wasn't a lifetime, for the most part. And it was a very select grouping of people. It wasn't like everybody raising their hand to be a Nazarite. It was a very specific grouping of people. So to think that the average person that's just working in the fields would know what a Nazarite was, or even the rules of being a Nazarite, probably not. Probably not. Not in that time. Heck, not in this time. I mean, if you were to ask people even today, you know, what's a Nazarite? Most people would be like, most people won't even know. So the angel comes to this woman, and he goes, and he starts laying down the law, right? He starts breaking down the law, and then he goes, because you're gonna have a Nazarite. And she goes, oh, okay. And she goes into the house, and she tells her husband, right? Now, this woman is barren. Now, who knows how long she's been barren? Who knows how long they've been trying to have a child. She comes to the husband. Now, I want you to see this relationship. And she says all this great stuff, and the husband doesn't give the reaction that I would expect, which is to say what? What? Nah, you're barren, right? He doesn't question that at all. He's like, well, was it an angel? And the woman's like, I don't know. I didn't ask. But it looked kind of like an angel. I mean, if I had the thought of what an angel may look like, I think it kind of looks like an angel. He's like, okay, well, we don't know if it was an angel. And then he's like, what are we supposed to do with this kid? Just an average person, right? Like, we have this special child that's going to bring down the Philistines. What are we supposed to do with them? Like, they have no idea what they're supposed to do. Manoah's like, wait, what? So then he prays that what? God send him again. He's like, I have no idea what you're asking. I have no idea what you want. And he asked for the angel to come what? Back to him. So guess what happens? The angel has to come back a second time. And the second time he says almost the exact same thing as what? The first time. And then he's like, I'm going to get his name this time. So he asks him his name. And he's like, dude, like, why do you want my name? And then he gives him his name. He's like, but that doesn't change what's going on, right? But he's like, now I got his name. I mean, I want you to get something. These people had no dealings with the divine at all. It's not like they were priests, right? It's not like they even had a concept of really what an angel was, or even how to deal. Like, you notice, like, when people that were in the know, like Moses and all of them, when they were in the sight of an angel, they dropped to their knees. They're like, oh my God, it was like a terrifying thing. But they didn't even have any understanding of how to interact with the divine. It's just like the divine coming to you right now. I mean, what do you say? You're like, well, you look like an angel. I was kind of afraid. What's your name? Haha, now I'm going to know. They had no idea how to interact with the divine. Why? Because they were just normal, average, everyday people. But what is the lesson here? What is the lesson here? Thank you. So often, God calls each one of us to a purpose. Calls us to a purpose. And the purpose is so great, so grand, that we have no idea how we're ever going to fulfill that purpose. Like the purpose is so far out the way, and it's so big and so massive that the concept of how me, just a regular person, even qualifies to do that is foreign to us. So often, we are called to a purpose that we don't understand. And we are standing in the face of the divine, and we don't even recognize it. We don't even know it. We don't even know what questions to ask or where to go or who to turn to, because it's so foreign to us. You see, it ties right into what we were talking about last week, and about purpose and about destiny and finding our destiny. The question of, am I worthy? Am I, just a regular average person, worthy of doing this or doing that? Am I what? Worthy. And so often we don't do it because the answer is what? I'm not worthy. So often we have a purpose that we are supposed to fulfill, but we don't fulfill it because our answer becomes what? I'm not worthy to do it. But here's the answer to that. God isn't selecting each one of us for our worthiness. God is selecting us by the sheer grace of what? God. That's it. Why Manoah? Why Manoah? Obviously he didn't really know too much. He was just a simple farmer guy. Why Manoah? His wife was barren. He obviously wasn't a priest. He wasn't some great man. Why Manoah? But here's the question. Why not Manoah? Why not? Why can't God take somebody who's just an average, everyday person and do something great to defy the logic of everybody who says you can't? Manoah showed his ignorance, but it also showed God's brilliance in 13. Because what Manoah lacked, God had to come back and what? Give it to him again. God made up the gap. Manoah didn't know what to do. So he did the best thing, which was what? Ask for help. He didn't stand there questioning his wife and arguing with her. Well, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do that. He said, okay, but I don't know what to do. So he asked for help. And then the angel came down and gave it to him again. And then he was like, well, the little that I do know, I know I'm supposed to do what? Some type of burnt offering or something, right? So you want a burnt offering, right? And so he's like, well, okay, sure, do that. He's like, but, and then they're all going to eat. He's like, I don't eat this stuff because I'm an angel. Whoa, we found out he got the answer. He's an angel. And then he goes up in smoke, in the fire. And they're like, yay, he really is an angel. But that shows yet again that they had no idea how to deal with what? The divine. They had no idea. They were completely outclassed. But God chose them. And they succeeded. Whatever you say about Samson, whatever you say about Samson and his life, you've got to say that Manoah and his wife did exactly what? What they were supposed to do. And they didn't fail him. They didn't fail him. Because when he grows up to be an adult, he's still what? A Nazirite. Which means she followed the rules that was given. She made sure, she probably went to the priest, local priest later, and was like, what's a Nazarite, right? But in this moment, they got to get it right when? Right now. Because if she starts messing up right now, that'll mess up his kids. So when we look at an average person doing something great, we all have something that God has called us to. Some purpose, something, whatever it could be. I'll tell you right now, when I was called to be a minister, not a pastor, a minister, I went to my pastor, the late Bishop Michael Broadus, and I said, I don't feel like, who am I to tell people of God? Who am I? Who am I to stand before people and tell them anything about God? Who am I? And you know what he said? Do the best you can. Did God call you? Do the best you can. And God will fill what? The gaps. God will fill the gaps. Manoah didn't know what a Nazarite was. Probably didn't know how to spell Nazarite. He probably maybe didn't even know how to read. Because a lot of people didn't know how to read back then. But he knew how to do what? Ask for help. And he asked for help. He said, angel, come on back down. I don't get it. We didn't get it the first time. And then they came back down. But obviously the angel chose the right person. Why? Because there was no argument between him and his wife. He didn't disbelieve her. He didn't distrust her. He said, okay, I still don't know how to do it. And then the wife said, well, she answered the question to the best of her ability. And then they brought the angel back down. And then he said, I'm going to give you a burnt offering. He still didn't quite know how to deal with this angel, you know. So he's doing his burnt offering. He must have did it right because what? The angel descends in the smoke. So he did it right. So he believed in God. He was a spiritual man, but he just wasn't what? He was just an average guy. I like the averageness of Manoah. That's what I strive to be every day. I strive to be like Manoah. A man, just an average human being that's called to do something. And wherever I fall, I can what? Ask for help. We should all strive to be that. Because not everybody is meant to be, Samson. Not everybody. Remember a couple of weeks ago I said you could have what? Nothing, right? Like everyone's looking at what they have and they're like, man, I wish I had more. But the option is you could have what? But at this point here, Manoah and his wife were barren. They had nothing. God gave them a gift, but they didn't know how to secure the gift. So they asked for help. Whatever it is in your life that God has asked you to do, if you don't know how to do it, which you probably don't, what do you need to do? Ask for help. Because God already knows what your pitfalls are. God already knows what you know and what you don't know. It didn't surprise the angel that this guy that both of them didn't know what a Nazarite was, because he didn't start with the Nazarite. He started with what? The instruction. He started telling him, explaining to him what to do, and then he said at the very end, because your kid's going to be a Nazarite. And it's like, oh, okay. Huh. I'm going to have a kid. I'm pretty sure all she really heard was what? I'm going to have a kid. And this kid's going to help to bring down the Philistines. And there's some other hazy stuff that I'm supposed to do or not do. And Manoah's like, what? Oh, was it an angel? I think. In this point in our life, in 2018, not 1930, not 1920, in 2018, we can literally do what? Anything. There is nothing that holds us back in 2018 but ourselves. But I'm poor. Okay. God knows you're poor. But if God said to start something, then God's going to do what? Align whatever it needs to happen. Just ask for help. But I don't have kids. That doesn't mean that you'll never have kids. But I don't have this, I don't... Those things back in the maybe 1900s may have worked, but in 2018, you can literally do what? Anything you want. The door is open. God is looking for people to be a strong Manoah. God is looking for people to be a strong what? Manoah. A person that says, I don't know what to do. I have no idea, but God has called me to a purpose. And as long as I keep on the trajectory of that purpose, I will what? I will succeed. That's the formula. That's the Manoah formula. Whatever I don't know, I'm not going to be proud and pretend to know. I'm not going to be proud and pretend to have it. I'm not going to fake, which is so 2018. I'm just faking. I'm just going to simply say, I don't know. And then let God do what He's going to do to bring the increase. Thank you. All right. Here we go. Questions? Yes. Loud, please. No, keep it running. Loud, please.
So, why would you talk about why people respond like the question?
You have to speak louder.
Why does people, like people in the Bible like respond to Jesus in a question?
Well, in this instance, it was not Jesus, it was an angel. Actually, the angel gives his name later. I'm not with my usual Bible, so I can't really find it. But I think it's something like you have to see it to believe it, or something like that, or seeing is believing. So it's not Jesus, it's an angel. But the reason why is because what these people are being asked to do, are you listening? I mean, what these people are being asked to do is so beyond what they've ever done before. It's like saying, I want you to start a church with what? I've never started a church. I have no idea how to start a church. I mean, I've been a part of a church, but I've never done church before. I don't know how to start it. I have no beginning. So you have to, that's why you ask questions, to get the answer for how to do it. And Noah is right to ask a question, because if you don't, and you just assume you know, that's where you get in trouble. Thoughts or questions?
I think it's good to tell.
Louder.
I think it's good to tell people that, or just remind them, that if you just ask for help, because it is true, a lot of people, they assume that they know, or if they don't know something, they feel ashamed to ask for help, so they stay stuck in the same spot. And I tell people all the time, if you don't know, just ask. Just go around. I feel like that's what helped me a lot with getting ahead, is just to ask. Like, I'm not scared of a lot of stuff. If I don't know something, I'll ask. I'll figure it out. Keep pushing till you figure it out. And I think that's important for people to realize that nobody has all the answers.
So very true. Especially when it comes to doing something, being pushed in the water. You never know how to do this. So it's two people that you can find that God puts in your way to like lead you a little bit.